This is Truth Bronco with Bill Ward, and the title of this video is Bear Spray or Gun. Now, I've been a resident of Montana for 35 years, and I've lived in northwestern Montana and also around Bozeman. And we have in those areas and others in Montana a lot of grizzly bears. And I have had some confrontations with grizzly bears. Never anything that was negative, but encounters with grizzly bears that were as close as 10 yards. I've been on horseback. I've been laying in a tent, sound asleep at 3 o'clock in the morning when I had a great big grizzly bear that I saw the day before roar about 10 yards away from my tent. I've had quite a few experiences with grizzly bears while elk hunting as a bow hunter in Montana. And the age-old question is the title of this video, which is Bear Spray or Gun. And you have both camps. And the quick and short answer for that is both. And why would you say that, Bill? Well, this is the reason why. From experience, this is the reason why. If you have a good wind blowing in your face and you have a grizzly bear charging you the same direction the wind is coming right at you, and they'll run about 45 miles an hour. They're a tremendous athlete. I've chased in my Jeep a number of years ago on logging roads a black bear one time. And that black bear ran 35 miles an hour before he jumped off the road. Excuse my voice. I'm 73 years old, and my voice is starting to go. So I guess that's the reason. We'll blame it on age. At any rate, that black bear ran 35 miles an hour. Now, grizzly bear's a whole lot better athlete than a black bear. So I would say grizzly bear will run 45, 50 miles an hour. They're very fast, very athletic, tremendous athletic specimen. So, and they weigh, 400, 500, 600. There's one in Montana that I read on the internet that got up to around 700 pounds. I've seen real big grizzly bears before. Probably the biggest about 600 pounds. So they can get really big. But here's the answer for the video. Both gun and bear spray. Why? Well, the wind is one of them. The reasons why bear spray doesn't work all the time. If you've got a wind blowing in your face 30 miles an hour and a grizzly bear charging at 45 miles an hour, that bear might get a little bit of it. If you shoot it into the wind, you're going to get most of it. It's going to blow right back on you. Now, I've shot bear spray before, and with the wind away from me, and it slammed just a little bit of feedback from it. Even though the wind was blowing strongly from my back away from me, the same direction I shot the bear spray, that bear spray caused my eyes to slam shut and me to start coughing. Bear spray is really a bad thing. You don't want to get in the way of bear spray. So if you've got the whole mess of it blowing right back on you and a grizzly bear in your lap, that's a double problem. All right, so that's one time right there where the bear spray doesn't work. You need a gun. And I'm not going to go into calibers and things like that, and handguns and rifles. It's too big and bulky. And if you're a bow hunter, you can't carry a bow and a rifle too and things like that. So you're talking about handgun. But I don't want to go into that because a lot of other people go into calibers of guns that are good to protect yourself from bears and things like that know a lot more about it than I do. I know what I'd choose, but I don't really want to make this into an advertisement. Okay. The other time would be, what if a bear jumped on top of your tent and you were in there. There are bad bears. They can sometimes, because they've associated tents with Twinkies or some other kind of food that they like, they can go right at that tent that you might be in. And I've had that happen before. I wasn't in the tent. I was 300 yards away. I was watching YouTube. And while I was there watching movies, because I could get the internet there, and I'm way back in the pucker brush, I could get the internet there, and where my tent was at, about 300 yards away, I couldn't get the internet there. It's goofy back in the back country sometimes. So I had seen this 400-pound grizzly bear walk in front of me. I was sitting in my car watching YouTube, and it was just starting to, the sun was just going down. And so this bear walked off away from where, and I saw him about 40 yards away. He walked away from me, sitting in my car, and never even looked at me, and I'm right out in the open. That's not normal bear behavior. And so, and he went down toward my tent. About midnight, I finished watching movies, and I was scouting for elk in that area at the time, by the way. And so I went down to my tent to go to bed. Did that. Same thing happened about 2 nights later in the same spot. About midnight, went down to go to bed in my tent, and it looked weird. So I took my flashlight and shined it on my tent. So I walked over to it, and it was sliced down like this and across like this. So my fly was shredded. I didn't see this happen, but this is the only thing that could have taken place. That bear would probably a bad bear that was brought from Yellowstone or someplace where he'd had confrontations with people and associated food with tents and things like that. That's bad bear behavior, to just go up to a tent, and I never had any food in or near that tent ever. And my garbage was hanging up in a tree, probably 15 to 20 feet high, 4 feet, 5 feet, 6 feet away from the tree, according to all the guidelines, over 100, somewhere around 100 yards away from where my tent was. So it wasn't about garbage or anything like that, just a bad bear. So when he sliced that open, then he got my scent, because I've been sleeping in there. And then as I looked up, when I'm looking at this shredded fly, as I looked up, the top of the tent, I had the ridgepole broken in half and sticking up out of the top of the tent. Those things will bend, but they don't break. Now, you might have heard some of this story before, but I need some background here for what I'm about to tell you. So, what he did is he got my scent and then he attacked me. I wasn't in there. Remember, I'm watching YouTube videos. So he jumped up on top of the tent and came down on top of me. Well, that's a 400-pound grizzly bear. Okay, now if I'd have been inside that tent, I would have had tent fabric on top of me and a 400-pound grizzly bear on top of that tent fabric, and he'd have been breaking my bones, biting me. How's bear spray going to help me there? It's not going to help me at all. If I shot bear spray off like that, and I got that tent fabric on top of me, all I'm going to do is suffocate myself with bear spray, and the bear's going to think he's got a taco. Bear spray doesn't work. A rifle doesn't work. A shotgun doesn't work. Why? Because they're too long. But if I've got, 340 grain flathead bullet coming out of a 44 Magnum that's 2.5 inches, 2 3/4 inches long for a barrel, I'm probably going to light the tent on fire, which I'm inside of, and it's going to light that grizzly bear on fire, and he's going to get hit with a pretty good sized handgun revolver slug. Is that good? No. Do I want that fight? No, I don't want that fight at all. Is it possible? Yeah, if I'd have been in that tent right there, it would have been highly possible. I'd have been fighting a grizzly bear I didn't want to fight. I like them. I mean, they create a majesty in the Rocky Mountains. It's different. I've hiked in the Sierras, I've hiked in the Cascades and all over the Rocky Mountains. It's different because of the grizzly bear. So yeah, I like them. So what do you need? Well, bear spray's no good there. And at least you're gonna have a fighting chance anyway with that gun. Now, what about guns? Just carry a gun. Forget about the bear spray. No, you need them both. Why? Well, because guns aren't, you got a real fight on your hands. I'm going to tell you about a story that I read. I think it was some kind of magazine, some kind of a hunting magazine. Long time ago, but it's still one heck of a story that I've never forgotten. So there's this farmer and he hears his chickens having trouble, so he goes out and there's a grizzly bear going after his chickens. And the grizzly bear is probably about 10 yards away. And so he's got his 30-06 there and he shoots the grizzly bear. Grizzly bear runs away uphill in the dark. He doesn't go after him. He goes the next day. Sun comes up and he goes looking for this grizzly bear. He knew he shot him. So he goes up there and he hikes uphill 100 yards following this blood trail, this farmer does, and he finds a dead grizzly bear right there in a heap. So what he does is he sees where he's been shot him in the chest, checked it out, cut him up to a point where he could see what it was. He was curious. And he saw that he had shot this grizzly bear through the heart with a 30-06, and that bear ran uphill 100 yards uphill before he died. Well, a grizzly bear is going to run that in about 7 seconds. So if you're 10 yards away from him, it's going to run to you in 1 second. He's going to cover that 10 yards in 1 second. That means he's got 6 seconds left to live to tear you up. And they can probably hit you once in the shoulder and rip your shoulder off. They have the strength to do something like that. They can bite you in the neck and you're dead. They can tear you up in 6 seconds. Do I want to fight a grizzly bear with a gun? No, no way in the world. But if it's the only thing that you've got left, I would rather do that than play dead while that grizzly bear chewed on me. I'd rather fight him with a gun. And the bear spray, hey, in that kind of a situation, he could have hit that bear with bear spray. Probably would have been better than the gun. He's coming after chickens. Later on, he's going to associate bear spray with chickens. He's going to say, I don't like that. I don't want to eat chickens. And probably there's a better chance, certainly, that he would have never come back. So rather than shoot him with a gun, shoot him with the bear spray to get him away from the chickens. But I'd have a gun real close right there in the event that he charged that bear spray and went through it and came after me. So what's your answer once again? The answer is, and I know this for a fact, and after my stories, I think you'll agree with me, but you better know how to use a gun. If you don't, forget it. Leave it at home or don't get one. And you better practice and learn how to use that bear spray. Otherwise, it's useless to you. It all is. So practice. Become proficient. And but the bottom line, if you really are a good shot and you practice a lot and you know what you're doing with a real big bad handgun, yeah, you want to have that. And you better practice with your bear spray, and you better have that. The answer is both, folks. I'm not in one camp or the other camp all the time. So there are times when you need to be in the bear spray camp. There are times where you need to be in the gun camp. But if you think that gun is going to make you big bad Superman, you're a fool, because you got a fight on your hands that you may lose. But at least you got to fight. At least you're not just dead. And No, there are guys that have survived grizzly bear attacks and been torn up in the process of it. But where I go, I'm long ways, lots of times, at least when I was younger anyway. Hopefully someday I'll be able to do that. My legs don't work real well anymore with neuropathy. So it's taken a lot of the kinds of things that I really love to do away from me. But beyond my boohoo story, in regard to physical capabilities anymore at 73 years old, I still love it out here. And I'm out here in the woods now, in southwestern Montana. I thoroughly love it, just thoroughly love it. And there are grizzly bears in this country, where I am right now. If you'll take a look here, you'll see a sign. It says, "This is bear country. Be alert." And I don't believe this about making noise. And this is just me, folks, but we're in the grizzly bear's house. And if it was my house and some stranger came into my house and started yelling at me, "Hey bear, hey bear, hey bear," what am I going to feel like? I'm going to feel threatened. And I'm either going to run or fight. Fight or flight. One of the two is going to happen. And I don't believe in that. And there are other people that have spent a lot of time in the woods, as I have too, that agree with me. I want to be quiet. I've seen bears, I've smelled bears lots of times, and they never saw me. And they never knew I was there. And I just sneaked away. If you don't threaten them, their instinct is not to kill you and eat you. Their instinct is to protect themselves or their cubs. And that's the first instinct that they have. But if you threaten them with big noise and stuff like that, how would you react if you were in their place? Fight or flight, folks. One of the two. If they're going to run away from you, okay. But if they're going to charge you and kill you, and they will try to beat the heck out of you, and that can kill you, because if you want to fight a bear and they don't think they have any other option, well, it will be one heck of a fight. And with a gun or with bear spray, I don't want either one. I want to see them before they see me. I want to hear them before they hear me. I want to smell them before they get a chance to know that I'm there. And if they know that I'm there, I one time surprised a bear. Then he was digging for grubs. I was bow hunting, and he was just to my back, about 15 yards away, just behind me, as I was walking with my bow, very quietly. And he was just digging for grubs. And I knew that what it was right away. Put my hand on my .44 Magnum and had my bow right by where my bear spray was. I would have dropped that bow and pulled that bear spray if I could have, if he would have charged me. But I was hoping that if I wasn't a threat and he didn't think I knew he was there, when he finally saw me, he would just sneak away. And that's exactly what he did. I heard him quit going, and he stopped. And I knew that he knew I was there. He saw me 15 yards away, folks. And I didn't hear anything else. He was gone. I never looked at him. If I would have turned and looked and made eye contact with him, that would have been very threatening, and I'd have been into probably a grizzly bear fight at that point, which, I don't want it. So if you got a gun on you, don't be aggressive. Don't act like you're king of the jungle, because you're still not king of the jungle. You're a visitor. And if you threaten them, they're going to run or they're going to fight. And that fight is not a good idea. with a 400, 500, 600 pound animal that can run 45 or 50 miles an hour. And strength beyond your worst nightmares, folks. All right, now you know. Bear spray or gun? Both is your answer, folks, if you're proficient in using both. And you better have a good, humble attitude, because they are king of the forest. Here in Rocky Mountain, Montana. I love you all. Thanks for listening. See you next time. Don't forget to subscribe, please. And tell all your friends and anybody else that you can to watch these videos, and hit that thumbs up button, please. And make sure that you're notified of the next one. I never know when I'm going to do one. But I always love talking with you. So I hope you'll enjoy it. Thanks, folks. Love you all. Bye.